Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Ray Andrewsen, who's with the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. Ray, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Well, it's great to be back with you, Pete, especially after the last year. What a stressful, what a crazy time this has been for all of us. It is spectacular to just be back on your program.
I know.
I feel literally like, good guy that you are, friend that I consider myself, of you, for what you've done in the community. I feel like I'm in my kitchen having a coffee with you. But then again,
I know.
I'm in my kitchen having a coffee with you.
Absolutely. Maybe one of these days we'll actually be here in person together, hopefully.
That'd be great. Yes.
Absolutely. So, Ray, what's new with the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce?
Well, me. I was
you.
Executive director. March 15th was the first date that I actually started in this new role. Prior to that, I'd been with our affiliate chamber, the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce,
right.
As Director of Membership Services since January of last year. Of course, I was Quinnipiac University's WQUN for 22 and a half years, Morning Host and General Manager, and long career in broadcasting. So I made that transition. So I enjoy it quite a bit. The Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce services Wallingford and North Haven. Those are our communities. I'm a North Haven resident.
Right.
Lots of family, lots of memories. Right there, I go around the North Haven Green and I look at all the buildings that surround that green, and a lot of them have touched my life. So it feels natural, and I have a lot of family ties and other friends and relationship with Wallingford. So this is a homecoming for me in a position I really, really love.
Absolutely. So how did the Chamber of Commerce handle the pandemic then, and how are they handling things now?
Well, as most other event-driven organizations had to do, we had to take a step back first. We had to figure out, we have invested members who expect to network, who expect to connect, to do business with each other. And traditionally, they've done it in networking platforms where they're in person, right. Not remote. We've had Zoom and Skype, business Skype, and Microsoft Leads and other platforms, WebEx around, but not many businesses were using them in an expanded way, or nonprofits were doing that. So when the pandemic hit last March, we had to backpedal and think quickly about how we're going to go forward with our events. And like every other organization, we didn't make rash decisions, say, oh, that's it, we're canceling. Right. We had to figure out one by one, event by event, how we could pull it off. And we concluded very quickly that most of our information had to go online. It had to be Zoom webinars, of which we've done about 70, the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, and evolved with that. Our business after hours and morning networking also had to be virtual. And we had to fill these little rectangular spots and use the technology for breakout rooms so people could have smaller chats and whatnot.
Sure. And
we had to push a lot of our events from that spring and summer back into the fall, which we did. We did a 4-day expo at the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce last November. That was phenomenal. We had nationally known speakers, great business experts, minority business owner awards. It was a very inspiring 4 days. And that really kind of reinforced the fact that we knew how to do this. We knew how to get people to watch. We knew how to put out compelling content. We were able to get the community together and watch this and sponsor it and network. And, we used a platform called Whova, which allowed people to connect before, during, and after the event. So we've been using technology in a very effective way. In the beginning of the year, of course, we were still doing everything virtually. And as we're getting together for this program, we had our first business after hours at the end of May here in North Haven at the 12% Beer Project. We had about 50 people out quaffing beer on a hot afternoon and enjoying a few snacks and being with each other, and they loved it. You could tell everybody was just so happy to be together. And we also had our annual meeting at the Farms Country Club in Wallingford.
Sure.
About 120 people were present.
Oh, wow.
So people are slowly coming back to live events, in-person events, right. Growing confidence. Many people here in Connecticut, our vaccination rates are excellent. I think we're like second or third best in the country.
I believe so.
So given all this, Pete, it's starting to slowly come back to what a Chamber of Commerce was all about, which was in-person events, live networking. We still do a lot of things online. We have to with Zoom, but we're back together again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, how many members does the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce have?
About 450. Our affiliate and larger chambers, the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, has about 850. So combine that, about 1,250, 1,300 members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, of varying size, companies. We have large-scale industrial firms, Allnex in Wallingford, Nucor Steel, as well as Albert Stainless Steels, one standing family-owned company that was established in Wallingford in 1924. Gaylord Specialty Healthcare. We also have Chilled Rosemary Hall, an internationally recognized private school, and on and on and on. There are a lot of great supporters of the chamber.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now we're going into the fall and moving forward. Where do you see the chamber event going? Hopefully, in person.
Hopefully in person. That's where we're going. We have a manufacturer's career fair coming up at the Best Western in North Haven here on July 17th. And I will say this to anybody who is watching, who has someone who is looking for work, has mechanical skills, but in some cases, they will actually pay your training. They will pay to train you for a job that could pay up to $30 an hour.
Oh, wow.
In some cases more.
Right.
If you're looking for work at select manufacturers. We expect to have over 20 manufacturers on the day of this event from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Best Western Hotel. That is right off exit 12, I-91 in North Haven. We've got a lot of local manufacturers, members, regional manufacturers that will be there that day. You can talk to them, you can apply for work, you can learn about some of the things they have to offer. Now, that's a summer event. We also have a golf tournament coming up on August 16th at the Farms Country Club again in Wallingford, a beautiful course. Sure. We're well underway with putting together foursomes. We welcome anybody who'd like to play and come out and just enjoy a day, not only of fellowship, but of networking. And it's always fun to play golf. And then we'll have more events coming up too, come the fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't tell you the last time I was actually on a golf course. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while. And now you guys are the parent company of the New Haven Chamber of Commerce. How's that work?
Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce is essentially our parent company. We're an affiliate of that chamber. Oh, wow. It's a larger chamber that has more resources. The Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce is the third oldest chamber of commerce in the United States of America.
Oh, wow.
Dates back to 1794. It was a mercantile guild back in 1794, a business support group that had formed. At that point, we only had President Washington and Roger Sherman and other signers of the Declaration of Independence. Were very fresh in the mind of the chamber members. Absolutely. Perhaps even Benedict Arnold, who lived on Water Street in New Haven. I'm sure that some of the founding partners of the chamber in 1794 knew some of these early notable names in American history. So the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce is very steeped in history, evolving to very contemporary technology and a very contemporary way of servicing our large scale and small businesses. Around the Greater New Haven area. The Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce is an affiliate, smaller, more of a Main Street approach. And if you've been to Main Street, Wallingford, you know how beautiful it is. It's historic, beautiful restaurants, walkable near a historic train station. Wallingford is really pretty. It's a gem. But it's real. It's not made to look like something out of a storybook. It's an organic, living, engaged community with beautiful architecture, really nice people I've met there. Historic Chilled Rosemary Hall right up the street off North Main Street. It's a great place. So our membership is quite diverse as well in terms of scale of the business. But because many of the businesses are downtown, much of Wallingford and much of North Haven, I might add, is also drivable. So we have a lot of North Haven businesses of a great variety, I might add, that are also chamber members.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming you work with Mike Frieda, who's the first selectman in the town of North Haven.
Yes, that's right. So Mike has been first selectman for 14 years, and if he is reelected this year, he'll be the longest serving first selectman in the town of North Haven.
Okay.
Quite an impressive characteristic of his tenure and service. And he's very business friendly. Rich Lopresti, who heads up EDC efforts, and others in the community are very active, filling spaces along Washington Avenue, Universal Drive, some of the industrial parks. And of course, Amazon was a huge lure for North Haven a few years ago, which greatly added to the tax base of the community, keeping taxes low. And William Dickinson has served 38 years as mayor of Wallingford.
Yep.
He's iconic, to say the least, and part of the landscape in the community and the history of Wallingford. And Tim Ryan, who heads up EDC efforts, and also Joe Mira, very important with the economic development coordination in the town of Wallingford. Very instrumental in bringing in industry. And Wallingford has its own electricity. Yeah, my tag, I can't leave as you know me for a long time, I can't let a pun go unattended.
Of course not.
A pun unattended, but I always get a charge when I talk about electricity in Wallingford. Makes me positive.
Telling jokes like that, don't give up your day job, pal.
It is a day job now.
And no, we're not going to go through puns, because the only pun that I'm thinking of is actually I was thinking about you the other day. I was in one of my towns. I walked into one of the school systems to meet with one of the teachers, and happens to be a science teacher and a friend of mine. And they happened to be discussing the table of elements.
Oh, right.
Yes. So, and I just happened to walk in when they happened to be talking about air.
So there's a song by the group Moshe Dadi. For those who are uninformed watching this program,
Yes.
there's a song by the group Moshe Dadis. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, was back in 1973 or 74.
Yeah, something like that.
Eres tú, or
Yes.
Kiss the Wind.
Yes.
And it's in Spanish. So I always thought of the introduction of the song, Promo tomeso eres tú, eres tú.
Yes.
As sort of declarative of one of my high school chemistry teachers, and trying to think of the table of elements. And if you introduce the song as a radio announcer, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Just say, today dirt is 6, water is 4, and what is air? Promo tomeso eres tú.
There you go. There you go. Hey,
you lost your viewers, Pete.
I know we did. Hey, before I forget, speaking of people, I heard from a friend of ours the other day, who was on WTIC radio.
Oh, Greg Little, our news director.
Doing the news.
That's right. Our longtime, we were partnership for 20 years.
Absolutely.
Doing morning drive. He loves his work. I mean,
he does.
Still in broadcasting. He is doing very well. He enjoys news. He's a news junkie. He's made for that job. Absolutely. And he's enjoying it. And what better big, large news signal in the state of Connecticut? There is obviously WNPR, but and WSHU, the public stations, but WTIC is a very active and engaged news department.
It is. It absolutely is. And I'm sure you guys, with the Chamber of Commerce, deal with all the local news media outlets as well. We do. And it's changing, Pete. The media landscape is not really what it used to be. I mean, it is. I think we all know that. And we're losing, I think, a lot of our Main Street journalism. Right. There's some communities, when WQN went dark, for example, Hamden, a community of 63,000 people, did not have a weekly paper. Nope. Nor any radio station, local station. Exactly. For any coverage to tell citizens of Hamden what's going on in their town. It was just the mayor's Facebook page, town's Facebook page, pretty much, and Twitter account, social media, and that was it. That's pretty nice. And that reached some people, but not everybody. Exactly. Ray, would you mind sticking around for another segment? I'd be happy to do that. All right, we'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Your old pal Grover here with some health tips. Wash your hands throughout the day with soap and water for 20 seconds. Whoa. Also, practice physical distance by staying 6 feet away from people in public. And do not forget to wear a mask. And wow! So that is where the soap went.
Caring for each other because we are all in this together.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm
sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look! Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Ray Andrewsen from the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. Ray, welcome back.
Good to be here, Pete.
Thanks for sticking around, pal. So, Ray, we talked a little bit about, in the first segment, the Chamber of Commerce. Let's talk about, especially now, opening up this segment, of how important it is to support your local business, especially in the current times that we're experiencing right now.
Well, I would say for anyone watching our program, and in the shoreline, Lower Connecticut River Valley, New Haven, we live in different communities. And by size, definition, transportation, where people work, where they live, where they send their children to school, for example. So the characteristic of every community is somewhat different. The one thing that you can count on, I think, with a local business is that they're more service-oriented out of necessity. They have to be. Supporting local business means that there are many things that you do in your personal life that require you to maybe take a short drive or a walk to a local business. If you need medical supplies, instead of getting something online, you support your local pharmacy. If you want to go out to dinner, there's obviously in every community a multitude of restaurants and quite a variety. Connecticut is blessed with real culinary diversity. It really is remarkable when you think about it, for a state that is not as urban or densely populated as some other states. In terms of clothing or supplies or hardware, your neighborhood business counts. But it's also the businesses that aren't related to restaurant or retail. And those are your local, you need a local dentist, you need local health care because your body is located here. You obviously need corresponding supplies. The same thing with specialty services. Small businesses could be consultants, they could be attorneys, they could be financial advisors, they could be business coaches, they could be marketing and advertising firms. There are a lot of professionals who are in professional office parks that are still part of the small local businesses as well. And we are consumers. And I don't think that's going to stop. And it is a good way to reflect and invest in your community if there are certain things that you would rather have here. So I'll just use a good example. It's a cigar shop. You don't have to be a cigar smoker or even a smoker, but if you enjoy, as I do, maybe a dozen cigars a year, and then you're going to hit a golf course, you want to play, get together and have a cigar. Instead of going online to order your cigars and having them delivered, go support a local cigar lounge. If you're looking for, sewing supplies, if you like to sew, if you like to knit, instead of getting something online, you can click, drag, and have it delivered to your doorstep. There are fabric stores. There are other supply stores where you can find some of this. And I think the more we do that, we get to know people on a one-to-one basis. It actually forms community. So small business is the backbone of community, where you get to know the person who cuts your hair. You get to know the person, who will pick out or help you pick out a bottle of wine. You get to know the person, who's going to do your tax returns, a local accountant. So there is a real investment in your community. A healthy investment in small business is a healthy investment in your neighbors. It's a very healthy investment in your town.
Absolutely. Now, what else is the Chamber of Commerce up to?
Well, events, as I mentioned. We also have a couple of things we do that people don't really see on a day-to-day basis. So the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, we are advocates on behalf of business and communities up at the state capitol in Hartford. We do advocate on behalf and we do review specific proposals and laws that are before the legislature. Our chambers, for example, just supported a tiered pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes, that will help municipalities based on their size and based on their needs particularly the larger municipalities that need this, to help with their budgeting. So the state can actually backfill some of the challenges for those communities and help with certain and select projects. This has nothing to do with COVID. This has to do about long-range fiscal stability for communities.
Correct.
So we advocate on behalf of a bill like that. I think that came from Senator Martin Mooney of New Haven, President Pro Tempore of the state Senate,
Sure.
A very experienced lawmaker. So we are advocating on behalf of that. We just have been for a long time advocating for an expansion for Tweed New Haven Airport. And if you live along the shoreline, if you're in East Haven, Brantford, Guilford, Madison, wherever you happen to be, so on and so forth, out even farther east,
right,
to have a small, accessible commercial airline fly into New Haven is going to do a lot for your business.
Absolutely.
Hartford, Bradley is important, TF Green in Rhode Island is important, Westchester Airport, and of course the New York airports.
Yep.
But we needed something in this region that would help support transportation so we can fly in and out of New Haven a lot easier. And we were very much the forefront of supporting that expansion, and we're very happy that it's coming to fruition.
I've never been to TF Green. I'm sorry, I've never been to Tweed. Is it good size or is it small?
No, it's small. In fact, anecdotally, and many people who are watching are probably tickled when I say this. My dad was a traveling salesman. He flew often out of New Haven back in the day.
Yeah.
And I remember bringing him down, or my mother would bring him down because it even predates when I could drive.
Yeah.
He would get on Pilgrim Airlines, or he would get on Allegheny Airlines,
Okay.
which later became U.S. Air, so on and so forth. So it was a small airport, commercial airport, but a lot more vibrant.
Okay.
In that period of post-World War II through the maybe even the early 80s, mid 80s. And then it suffered a decline to the point where it had no commercial flights at this point. And, that's something we just can't have happen.
No, definitely not. So what else, as far as you guys are hopefully getting things back to normal, back into the swing of things with the chamber, with in-person events, correct?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. And, I think we understand a few things coming out of the coronavirus and how people have been affected. Number one, let's face it, it's taken a mental health toll for many of us.
Right.
I won't say all of us, but I think many of us have struggled with the lack of confidence
Right.
and assurance that we're safe, that we're going to continue life as we knew it before the pandemic, and that we will maintain our health. So working at home became the way to go for many operations. Some simply obviously can't. I mean, manufacturers can't remote their machines into your house.
Of course not.
And first responders, so on and so forth. They have to go to work. But a lot of people stayed home. Some people are still going to stay home.
Right.
And we've learned a little bit, and that is we need a little bit of a water cooler banter. Need to be together, a lot more collaboration in person or even on screens.
Right.
So I think that's what we've learned coming out here. And obviously the financial assistance that many businesses needed, PPP, EIDL, for example, those loans. But now we're coming out on the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
And there are a lot of manufacturers, there are a lot of businesses that are screaming for workers and they can't find them. So now it's time to turn the page and get people back to work safely, get the economy not just improving as it's been, but roaring again.
Absolutely. And I know you know as well as I do, for the first couple months of the pandemic, I was doing my show in my home studio through Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
been
right.
very, it was very interesting, very learning experience doing the Pete Mezzetti show remotely, shall we say.
Yeah, and a lot of radio broadcasters are doing that now, and some operations are continuing that way. They like the idea that they can do a home setup with some of their employees and not house them in an office park settings where some of the radio groups are located. They want to downsize. Smaller operations, centralized operations can be a cost cutter. Very effective way of saving money.
Right.
Bottom line. But I think there are other costs to the business to consider, and that is collaboration. Those moments of being in a meeting where you can read body language, you can talk to people, and that's so important.
Right. Now, when you and I are normally together, we talk about this. So let's talk about it tonight, even though we're still together. How important do you think it is to support your local media and your local media outlet?
Well, I would say this. It's very important to do that. But I would also say from the consumer standpoint, if the product isn't good,
right,
you're not under any obligation as a consumer to engage with something you don't like or you don't feel has a lot of meaning. So if it's not a good weekly paper, if it's not a good online news source, if you're not being entertained by it, if it offers entertainment, there's no obligation to support it.
Right.
But I would say this, there certainly is an obligation as a citizen to encourage more of it.
Absolutely.
And this program is an excellent example of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Ray, we've got a little bit more time left. So what else do we want to educate people about the Chamber of Commerce and what you guys are up to?
Well, I think the thing that is important is to look at, I mentioned the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce and its history dating back to 1794. The Wallingford office, which later became the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, dates back to 1915, which predates, of course, a world war and a major killer virus outbreak, the Spanish flu of 1918. So the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce was formed at a time when there was a major crisis that really affected the economy, and a lot of people were dying. I mean, it was a tragic period, the late 19-teens, when that came in. But I think what we've seen is resilience, determination, and a can-do spirit. Just before we taped this program today, I was out at a industrial firm today, getting a tour for about an hour and 15 minutes of this parts maker, this wonderful business that makes a lot of medical parts, small metal things that you'd say, well, what does that do? Where does this go?
Right.
And it was just fascinating to go through this endless production and assembly line and see the complexity of it and the pride of the owner of the business giving me this tour. And they had probably about, I'd say, 50, 60 employees in that building.
Right.
Just on the shop floor. I'm not even talking about the office staff. So they employ a lot of people. Absolutely. And when you go through a building like that, you realize this is the heart of our economy.
Right.
Making things, creating things, making better things.
Right.
Technology, research. We've got a lot of creative people, and one of the things about business is that business is service. And if you look at it, it is better to build a better mousetrap.
Absolutely.
It helps humanity to do that.
Absolutely.
And you need to do that. And that's what I think we need to learn about getting engaged with the Chambers of Commerce and being part of your local business community.
Absolutely. Ray Andrewsen from the Chamber. We're out of time, so I want to thank you for coming down, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Pete. It's been a joy as always.
You got it, buddy. On behalf of Ray Andrewsen, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.